Jason Voorhees gets upsized in this new release from NECA Toys. Today we're going to be having a look at the Friday the 13th, the final chapter, quarter scale Jason Voorhees. After his revival in a hospital morgue, the hockey mask murderer fixes his vengeful attention on the Jarvis family and a group of carefree teenagers. Young Tommy Jarvis is an aficionado of horror films with a special talent for masks and makeup effects. Has the diabolical Jason finally met his match? So what does quarter scale mean? Well, we're going to go ahead and take the tape measure and put it to the very top of Jason's head. That's about right. The figure, if you're looking at it in inches, the figure stands at 19.3 inches. If you're looking at that in centimeters, then you're looking at 49.1 centimeters in height. And if you're still not sure what that means, we're going to go ahead and take a very small, and yet a normal size Jason Voorhees is the 7-inch release from also Friday the 13th, Part 4, the final chapter, and we're going to put it down by Jason's legs. There he is right down there. It would be safe to say that he goes just clearing, actually, Jason Voorhees' knee. That's how big this Jason is. For his accessories, he comes with basically everything you would expect, just much larger. He comes with a giant axe, which, as you can see, has been graced with a little bit of blood that's been just touched to the outer blade of the axe. Blade has a nice, actual natural scratching and stuff to it. Simply, it's not just a case where a company slathers some silver paint on there. Definitely looks like they've added some little scratches and stuff like that to it, so it's really nice. Blood looks realistic. Took years for companies, toy companies, to discover what makes real looking blood. NECA is certainly one of the first to, I think, successfully pick that perfect red for dousing their weapons. And there's a lot of blood actually just trickling down the handle portion, which I gotta say, this handle looks awesome. I mean, certainly Jason looks awesome as well, but just strictly looking at the axe and the axe alone, looking at it, it almost looks like this was made out of wood as opposed to plastic. Rest assured, I can tell you this, it is made out of plastic, but it's these little grains that they've added to it that definitely does look like it was crafted from wood. Just to give you a scale comparison of how that stacks up versus, say, the likes of the final chapter Jason, that's embarrassing. Well, not embarrassing. That is correctly scaled to the figures themselves. But it's definitely, You can see, though, how larger scale figures get much more afforded details that the smaller figures simply didn't have. I mean, if you look at, there is no wood grain. There's no indication that this would have been made out of wood. If you take that, comparing it to the larger one, it's like a night and day comparison. Even like the blades, you can tell that they spend just a little extra time. They certainly have a bigger canvas to work with. That it looks a lot more realistic, one would admit, than the smaller blade here. Next, we can look at Jason Voorhees' machete, which it's hard to tell whether that is all blood. Part of me also thinks that that might be just a little bit of rusting as well. Either that or he has thoroughly saturated this machete with somebody's blood. And to give you a scale comparison of how that looks next to the 7-inch machete, this not being 7 inches, but the 7-inch Jason machete, you can see that, again, they get a little bit more generous, I would say, with the paint applications when it comes to the larger one versus the smaller machete. Even like the handle portion, it seems like there's a little bit more extra care to the paint, just making it look a little bit more realistic to the handle portion. One thing also that Jason has, and I don't think I have a comparison. Oh, maybe I do. Hold on one second. Yes, I do have a comparison. I forgot that the smaller Jason did come with a little hunting, well, not quite a hunting knife, but like a kitchen knife. This one here is brown. The handle portion, that is brown. You can see right there. The larger machete, the larger knife, I should say, is actually got a black handle. And again, blood. Blood, I think a little bit more naturally applied here to the larger blade than the smaller blade. This one, though, to its credit, it looks as if you've got blood that has then dried and then reapplied. He's used the knife frequently without washing it off, cleaning it off. Whereas this one is just the single pass. First kill, if you will. This is multiple kills. This is, didn't bother even putting it in the dishwasher. Let's just continue to hack and slash our way through. Then, of course, one of the other accessories he comes included with is the hand. The big, severed in half, split in the middle, bare hand. A gruesome spectacle. Tom Savini, thank you very much for your time, dedication, and care into making gruesome special effects. The hand looks awesome. Again, when you get to the larger variety of it, you can get a little bit more generous. I keep wanting to say that same word over and over again, but generous is the best way to describe it. Look how generous they were with the grotesque fingernails of Jason Voorhees here. Not only are they long, but they are gruesomely unkept. Best word to describe it, unkept. The blood nice naturally draped across his hand. What's left of it, that is. And he's even got some blood down the fingers, where you can see like the blood would have been trickling down the fingers, bleeding, I would say to death, but no such luck. And then last, and certainly not least, he does have the knife, previously the axe wounds, but now the knife wound to the side of his face, the machete. I'll show you the comparison of that with his default head in a second, but I just want to show you this. I don't know if I'm as crazy when it comes to the bluish tint that they've added to it. It's given it it obviously has given it a more natural kind of bruising effect, but the actual veins and stuff I think are a little too much. Still, though, got to appreciate the fact that there's multiple dry times of blood. New blood, slightly older blood, blood, and more blood. Gruesome head sculpt. Love it, though. Very big bulbous socket for changing out Jason's head. Will sit on a very big ball joint. I'll show you that in a second. But a really nice looking head sculpt. Now let's do comparisons between this and the defaulted head. And no better way of doing that than simply popping Jason's existing head off and showing you the comparison between the two. Yes, one does have a hockey mask. Let's talk a little bit about that for a second. Now, he does come with one hockey mask. To the credit then of the smaller one, he did come with two hockey masks. He came with this mask, which I'm just going to compare side to side. This one has a little bit more wear away of the side chevrons versus this one right here. However, there was, of course, I wish I had three hands. there was this one as well, which had the more worn away chevrons on either side. And the half triangular upper chevron was also there as presently as well. I'm just going to put the Jason down for a second. There we go. Now, one thing about this mask versus this mask down here is I think you get a much more natural transition of paint. Here it sort of just kind of comes together. There's really no highlights and lowlights, if you will, of the mask itself. This one here I feel like it gets a little bit more naturally transitioned, like you've got the darker areas on the side, a little bit lighter around the bridge of the nose. It does also an exceptional job of capturing the light, whereas this one doesn't quite do that. I don't know if it's the same type of plastic that they used, but this one feels smoother. It's got like more of a satin feel to it versus this one right here. I will say that the larger mask is a better looking mask. It's not 100% fair because you're comparing something with, again, a much larger canvas to the smaller canvased hockey mask. But this one, I think, is the better, superior looking hockey mask. Let's go ahead and take this off. There we go. Very thin straps. There's not really much you can do about it. That's the only workaround that they have. They could use technically a material, but plastic is probably the best way to go. Longevity, I mean, you got to be very careful taking the mask off, putting it on. You know, very thin straps can work against you if you're not too careful, but they've got nice little buckles there. And you can even see, let's see here, you almost even see where the material has overlapped itself. Very, very cool looking mask. And there it is just on its own. That's what it looks like on its own. And then we have this Jason face here, which does have the axe wound, but does not have the cut on the side of his face. That would then come later into the movie. If you are also wondering too, take the mask, put it over top of the wounded face. Although, to be fair, it's not a part in the movie that you're really going to see because the hockey mask has already been knocked off of Jason's face. I kind of, in a way though, if you look at the two side by side, part of me kind of likes the fact more so that his eye is closed, if you can see it right there, and his eye is looking off to the side. I may entertain then the idea of using this head sculpt, perhaps versus this head sculpt, if I was going to keep the hockey mask on. Just because I do like that partially closed eye, and I like that the eye is looking this way. But there's the difference between the two hockey masks, or the two unmasked head sculpts. Again, just put the hockey mask right there. Paint very good, very cleanly applied, as odd as that may sound, because we're looking at, you know, a mongoloid head that has been brutally attacked, for obvious reasons. There's the back of the head, very veiny, very gross. There's the side of his head. Again, there's the two head sculpts. To get it on the socket, now he does have a very large, very big bowl joint, but once you've done this enough times, it's pretty easy to get the head back into place. It still does require a little bit of pressure, mind you, but then once you've got it in place, there you've got Jason Voorhees, and then for giggles, you can go ahead and just add the hockey mask over top, being again very careful, sliding that back and sliding it down. One thing I do want to mention though, when you are putting the hockey mask on, put it down like from the front, but then make sure you're sliding the back down too. But there is the alternate head sculpt, just to show you the difference between the two. Kind of like in the closed eye, in all honesty, and I like the fact that if you angle the head slightly to the side, Jason very creepily is looking up right at you. I think that's really neat. Jason's outfit consists of a almost dark olive green shirt and a pair of brown khakis. Very similar to the smaller scale of him, although here we've got wet blood that has been drenched across the front of Jason's shirt. It looks a little bit more noticeable here, whereas here the red sort of just blends into the existing, the dark green here. I kind of like it a little bit more so that you can see very clear indications as to where that blood is on the chest versus here on the smaller figure. Yeah, some nice detailing there on the shirt itself. It is of a softer plastic. Here it's a little bit more denser, but down here you can feel around where his abdomens would be, his abdomen muscles. It would be a little bit on the softer side. Again, I like the fact that it's wet here. It's wet, but it still has, get the camera to focus, it still has a real clear-cut shape to it, where you can see that this is separate from the rest of his shirt. One thing though is that the arms, I don't know, hopefully the camera can pick this up, the arms are a little on the shinier side. They don't quite match that of this part of his shirt. Now you could chalk it up for the fact that the arms are wet due to the rain, or due to the fact that there's just more blood and stuff on them. But they do stand out a little bit, more so up here where it's a slightly drier area of his shirt. The arms are a little on the more shinier side by contrast to this here. Jason has the means to hold any one of the weapons that we already had a look at in the beginning of this review, although I did have to do a little bit of tweaking to the existing hand. I found like the opening for his hand just wasn't wide enough, and I wasn't really going to fight the chance of pushing down on this and breaking any one of the weapons, so I had to do the hot water trick. I just took some really hot boiling water. I submerged the hand for about 20 to 25 seconds, and then I pried away the fingers. Once they were pried away, I took something like the machete handle, for example, stuck it in his hand, and then I let the hand cool off. Now the grip is much easier. I don't have to not drop the hand. I don't have to try as hard to force the things through. I mean, literally the axe I could not get it in. And while the axe does sit a little on the loose side, the key to that is if you just push the axe towards the fingers, it's a much more secure fitting. It's a little on the more open side, but I definitely would prefer that over forcing, especially things like the machete. I would not want to force that in and break the blade off of the handle. So you may have to potentially heat the hand like I had indicated, just a little bit of boiling water, and just kind of pry the fingers apart. Speaking of hands, one thing I noticed though on this arm, and I don't know if it's consistent across all the figures, but I either have a little bit of white paint or I have paint that has been removed, paint that wasn't applied, and then that's the plastic underneath. It seems to be the case on the other hand. A really nice sculpt on the hand, by the way. Only on this hand. So if you've picked up this figure for yourself, let me know if you've got those similar markings here. As we look at Jason's lower half, I'll once again bring in the 7-inch figure. Again, what I do like about the larger scale Jason is the fact that you do see separations in color. Here the colors have blended a little bit more so in, so like the darker areas of this khaki color blends much too quickly into the defaulted color, if you will. Here, the pants do look a little on the lighter side. I feel like this might be the little bit more closer color scheme, but I do like that the browns, for example, are clearly visible. Like you can see where they start and stop versus the smaller figure. It is certainly a big, bulky figure to contend with. The pants are a little on the shiny side, but I'm certainly okay with that. And if we just tilt the figure up, there's the sculpting on his individual shoes. He does have, funny enough, pegals on the undersides of his feet. I haven't tried it yet. I suppose if you had a NECA Toys display stand, you could try, if you will, to get Jason to stand on them. I don't really think it's necessary, though, because despite for his size, the Jason seems to stand perfectly fine. Looking at the Jason's articulation, this mammoth figure has a ball joint on the head, hinges up and down. I'm sort of just holding the hockey mask, but you can kind of just move the hockey mask slightly out of the way. You can also, if you're interested, if you're wondering, you can have the hockey mask on top of his head, just kind of sitting on the top there. But the head does hinge up, hinges down, rotate, and rotate. Rinse and repeat. The arms hinge outward. It's basically all the things that the smaller figure possessed. Same thing can be held true to this Jason. His arm rotates all the way around. He does have a bend at the elbow, which also allows the forearm to rotate all the way around if you wanted to. And the hands also rotate and hinge back and forth. He has an upper torso ball joint. Allows slight rocking. You can move it back and forth on the torso. Legs ratchet. Very nice. Not to say that you're going to want to put Jason in the splits, but at the very least you can move his legs out. Forward and back, it's a little not on the as generous side of things. He does have a bend at the knee, which is a little bit more difficult. Rotate the feet back and forth, and you can also bend and rotate the feet. Now, speaking of his articulation, this is certainly one thing that always is a problem when it comes to the quarter scale figures. There we go. Well, he does have good articulation. I would say probably you may want to look at just displaying this guy museum pose, which is essentially straight legs, not necessarily straight arms, because for all the cool accessories that he has, you may want to display him with certainly weapons in his hands. But I don't think I would widen his legs or try to give him any sort of walking pose. That's when you start seeing the shortcomings of quarter scale figures. They just won't support it, and he may topple over on your shelf, so FYI. Picking up one of the quarter scale figures for yourself, you'll see right off the bat that the larger scale figures benefit from much better paint schemes. To this one's credit, I do feel like it has a better paint job than the smaller 7-inch variety. Of course, with that comes the fact that you're going to have to find a bigger space for this masked killer, as a quarter scale Jason certainly will take up a little bit more space on your mantle. And that's always really been the debated topic on this guy's opinions, this channel, is I do like quarter scale figures. I love the fact that sometimes in cases like the Catwoman, for example, from Batman Returns, that's the only time we've ever gotten a Michelle Pfeiffer Catwoman. I know, I'm talking about Catwoman here for a Friday the 13th review, but it does hold true. Like, these are great looking figures. The biggest and only obstacle I ever have with them is the fact that I have to find space to accommodate a figure this big. I do think, though, this is the better figure of this versus the smaller 7-inch variety. Of course, Jason Voorhees in quarter scale hasn't been released a lot, and the quarter scale Jason, hopefully we may get more of them from NECA Toys. I do think this one, like I said, is a better looking figure. He's just a little bit bigger. I say a little bit bigger, he's a lot bigger. Today we were having a look at the NECA Toys quarter scale Friday the 13th Part 4, the final chapter, Jason Voorhees, which, by the way, now is in store shelves. If you guys are not in store shelves, they're on store shelves. It's not phasing through the shelf itself. Price point on this will set you back about 100 to about 120. And I guess for a quarter scale, that's affordable, because if you look at the 7-inch variety of figures, at least here in Canada, you're usually looking at a figure that's about $30 to $34. So take that figure, times it by 3, about the 3 times the height, and that's on average about what you're going to expect to pay for the quarter scale figures. If you've managed to pick this one up for yourself, let me know down below in the comments section what you think of quarter scale Friday the 13th Part 4, the final chapter, Jason Voorhees. Do you like it? And also, by the way, in case you were wondering, yes, I do have the damaged face underneath the hockey mask. I'm really liking the fact that the eye is looking that one off direction and the other eye is closed shut. But you can display him really any which way you want. This is just the way I'm going to display him. If you guys want to go back and have a look at some of the other quarter scale figure reviews that I've done from NECA Toys, there's a whole playlist designated just for that. If, say, Jason Voorhees is more your fancy and you want to check out some more reviews of him, have you covered more Jason Voorhees? Ha ha ha! I chuckle loudly. Of course I've reviewed a whole bunch of Jason Voorhees. That's my bread and butter. So if you want to go back and specifically look at just Jason reviews, there's playlists for those as well. As always, guys, thanks for watching as you always do. I'll see you next time.